Good afternoon, YouTube. Today I'm making a short video on the article I found in the Calgary Herald entitled Nenshi Leads Calgary Trade Delegation to India Amid Country's Unrest. Okay, so all of you know about the train blockades and the massive chaos that's going around the country. In addition to the economy being brought to almost a standstill and many other problems that we face. In Calgary itself, we face unrealistic property tax hikes, pay hikes for councillors that really don't require it and they don't need it. So what I found here, and there's the cartoon character himself, he's leading a trip to India to raise the potential for Bollywood, the Bollywood film industry to come to Calgary and make Bollywood films. So I have to ask myself, is it a much deeper reason that he's going there? So I read the article further, and I'll just read it to you. Noting he'll be leading a trade team to a country racked with ethnic violence, Mayor Nenshi said Thursday that his trip to India is increasingly vital to Calgary's economic development, which is a lie. Nenshi expressed concern over how the unrest could affect the 7-day tour of New Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, and as a Muslim, attacks on people of his faith. First of all, I would say Nenshi claims to be Muslim, but whether or not he is actually a decent Muslim is actually in question. I think that amongst Muslims, I don't know how devout he actually is. So, this is again one of his political tactics, a tool, if you will, that he tries to encompass that community, but really he's no friend of them, and he's not a devout Muslim neither. It's what I wanted to attract attention actually is that we've had some concerns here, this line here. We've had some concern about the political stability situation. You can imagine I am particularly attuned to the idea of anti-Muslim riots. But it's better to engage and have conversations. Maybe it's good for folks to see a Muslim mayor, and so on and so forth. I think it's extremely wasteful. The delegation is also hoping to drum up interest in Calgary's burgeoning IT sector, especially considering city companies planning to spend $18.4 billion on digitization over the next 2 years. There are 3,000 unfilled tech jobs in Calgary. We've got to build a pipeline to fill those jobs, blah, blah, blah. What does he know about actually building jobs? Since he took over as mayor of Calgary, and I spoke about it in a previous video, the private sector in this city at least has been suffering a great deal due to high taxes. In the downtown, for example, it's extremely expensive to park. People don't conduct their daily affairs at ease for fear of the parking control. Because you can be ticketed within 8 seconds of stopping. So it's predatory, but that's another point. In addition, this particular trip will cost Calgarians $90,000. Trips cost. The two universities accompanying will cover their own tabs. Again, I ask the question, what's really the purpose of this particular meeting? And I have to conclude, Nenshi has done a lot to Calgary's infrastructure to modify, to make the old systems disappear and create a new system under his control. This guy is very cunning and able to, let's say, sway the political climate in his favor. Influence and jobs and so on that he would fill with people that he's chosen, and not the ones that previously occupied the post. You might say that he's consolidating and growing his influence so that his regime, you could say, will be indestructible with time. Many people in Calgary already feel that he cannot be defeated in an election. I'm not among them. I just feel that the candidates that have run against him in the past have either been too weak, too vague, in order to confront him on the issues that are very important in this city, and instead they're driven by fear about political correctness or to criticize him on any grounds of merit, because what he is a megalomaniac. He attacks Cal Wenzel for calling him. Essentially, Nenshi instigated the fight. He called Cal Wenzel the Godfather. So it's a small insult, but nevertheless, it didn't stop there. On Twitter, I actually heard that Nenshi insulted Wenzel's wife. So apparently, they went to court and they settled it in court or outside of court. And Nenshi cost Calgarians $300,000 in legal fees, which later he got his rich buddies to pay that back, or so he claims. I don't really buy it. But look at this mayor. After destroying the city, a good day's work destroying everything that we know and remaking it as he sees fit, he's off wasting time, taxpayers' money, abroad in India. My thinking is that he's going there to increase his political connections and try to reach out to Indian businessmen and bring their money here, in his support, of course. So essentially to rally support for his cause, to rally coin for his cause, and who knows how many rich Muslim or otherwise Indian businessmen that he will bring, or he'll try to attract, to come to Calgary and lay down their roots here. But everything about this guy is about consolidating political power and growing his influence. Tactically, take his invitation to Trudeau as he wants to act as like a liaison to Trudeau to the West, even though he himself doesn't really consolidate any of the Western support or ideals or anything like that. But nevertheless, him and Redford opened the invitation to Trudeau. And why? It's obviously political. They would like to put their claws into the Liberal Party any way they can. So by hook or by crook, they can weasel their way to federal politics. Anyhow, I see this trip as nothing to do with the economic development of Calgary, but rather an expansion of this mayor to try to grab power, essentially to try to attract businessmen or women in India to come to Calgary and throw their money in to support them, and God knows what kind of incentive he's going to offer. But, I know how this guy is operating, even if I don't have all the facts, because I have watched him during his reign of the city, let's call it, and I know his tactics. This guy does nothing for Calgary. Calgary is nothing but, you can say, like a kingdom for him to rule. But the kingdom itself, the condition of the kingdom is irrelevant. Power is what he's after. And if he can find a way to get into federal politics, this guy will be a severe threat to everyone. Because if you ask, like, from Wikipedia, for example, you can see that this guy's won, like, Best Mayor Award and many other honors and things that are, to me, it reminded me of the Pharisees from the Bible. And the warning was something like, beware about people seeing you in the street, giving high praise like the Pharisee. They have received their just reward. Beware when people speak and talk well of you in public. Those are the people that persecuted Christ. Like, the hypocrisy knows no bounds. And when you look at history, it seems that history seemed to elevate those the most that don't deserve it. I talk about people like, I don't know, let's go with Mark Antony, for example. A particularly weak leader. And one of the reasons why Caesar Augustus was able to, it's like competence versus the inflated personality that the media seems to support, right? It'd be something like if Stephen Harper versus Justin Trudeau. So the media loves one who is deeply corrupt, but looks good in public, and the man who has high integrity but doesn't look that good in public because, for whatever reason, mostly because the media has been paid off to degrade him, that person is brought down, you see. But ask anybody, people will tell you that Stephen Harper was a man of respect. You look outside of the media, for example, you look at other countries that had the pleasure to deal with it. They loved Stephen Harper and hold him in high respect, like Trump, for example. And Trudeau, they treat like a boy who doesn't know anything and who has no competency. And the country is getting to know Trudeau's real face as time progresses, and the direct consequences of his leadership, let's say. And the answer is similar here. As time progresses, Calgary is groaning under the weight of this guy. It's the leadership is non-existent, and if it exists, it's only to further his own cause and nothing to do with anything that really benefits the city at all. It's only about how he can execute the vision that he sees for Calgary, and the well-being is inconsequential. The well-being of its citizens for this guy is inconsequential. So I'm looking at, my intuition, my gut tells me that he's going there to rally some kind of financial support and bring it here to Calgary. And many of you don't know about how you can say it's a two-law system. One law for, let's say, Muslim people, although I think amongst Muslims he's not even well respected neither because of his, his choices and the way he conducts himself. How can he call himself a devout Muslim, really? If you know his background, it's even amongst Muslims, I'm sure he's not well liked neither. But, my analysis is this. He needs money. He needs to bring in money to consolidate and grow his political influence, let's say. And I think what he's really going there, the Bollywood thing aside, because, there's always some kind of pretense for him to be there. He needs to think of an excuse. So, okay, I'm Indian, let's go there for the pretense of Bollywood. That's a lie. That is an outright lie. Even if somewhat true, it's a pretense for something more. That's what I mean. It's not exactly what... it's controlling the narrative. They say one thing, but they're acting out in the principle of another. Or the motivation of another interest. So, I do think that this guy is extremely dangerous for Calgary, and I've said that many times in the past. He doesn't represent Calgary really at all. But his interest, his ambition for the city is extremely debilitating to the city itself, to taxpayers, to what the city used to represent. And he behaves the same as Mao, for context, because he's eliminating and destroying the history of the city in favor of the new regime. So people will forget the past, forget how things used to be, the competency of the past, the beauty of the simplicity of how beautiful the city operate with high efficiency, and replace it with a system of pure incompetence. And I always feel compelled to make an article, so I saved a bookmark on Nenshi so that I would be up to date with most of this thing. This article came out yesterday, and I was thinking about it all night, and I was trying to formulate the proper response to what I perceive as the so-called motivation to go to India. But everything that this guy does is politically is about consolidating and growing political power, and nothing to do with the welfare of Calgary. He hates the citizens in practice. He disrespects the honor and the beauty of the city of Calgary and endeavors to destroy it bit by bit. And I can summarize his reign as mayor in that way. Under his leadership, City Council has been the most corrupt it's ever been, the most secretive, the most exploitive when it comes to taxes, when it comes to the conduction of city affairs. He's fired the most city employees quietly and replaced the infrastructure with people of his own choosing. So, and you ask anybody in Calgary that has an unbiased opinion, and they'll tell you he's done nothing for business, nothing to help the city grow, and nothing to help the prosperity or to make life easier for Calgarians, despite the nonsense going on in the oil industry and the federal government and so on. Nothing. He has no mercy for any of the citizens that he's ruling over, you could say. Nothing. So I thank you for your time and your attention. I'm sorry this video has gotten a little bit long. Please comment below and subscribe and like this video and my channel if you like the content. And I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.